All right, here we go. We are live with another episode of That's Toxic here on YouTube with Steers. And I'm so excited to have a spiritual happiness coach with us, Coach Ray Freitas. He has been a supporter of Steers and known us, and we've gone back and forth. Both of us have gone through a number of things over the years. But you know what? He's persevered and he's finding a way to transform all of the negative things that have happened in his life and to those around him. And when people say, I've turned a negative into a positive, this is exactly what Ray has done. So let me introduce Coach Ray.
Thanks for having me, Laurelyn. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm good. Nothing like having somebody who has a business named Ray of Life. No pun intended, of course, right? That was subtle and clever. And to be able to talk to us here today about spiritual happiness and really the quest for happiness. So maybe let's set some context. Do you think people are happier now than they were a year ago, 5 years ago?
I think people are happier now that we're not all locked up on restrictions. You can't go anywhere. And so I think we're happier than we were 4 years ago. Are we happier than we were a year ago? I don't know. Because I do believe about a year ago there was a shift that happened politically in this country that made half the world unhappy. And of course, we've been struggling with happiness ever since the January 6th riots, as we all saw on television. So I think politically, we're struggling.
Mhm.
Oh, did I freeze?
No, well, you did. You froze, but we can still hear you.
Right. I think politically, we're at a point in time where it's very intricate and very challenging to figure out what is right, what's best for me, who's going to actually what's the way looking forward. Because in my honest opinion, I don't think we should have presidents that are mentally in decline be running, which is clearly the case for both of them. And so I think that is what's plaguing the nation right now is war, the political system, and some of the choices women have to do now that Roe versus Wade is now up to the states. So, women in general are now having to go to different states in case they have some sort of miscarriage or an abortion they want to do. And I remember I remember learning in school that more women die in the world from unsafe abortion practices than any other practice. And it was just amazing. It's amazing in the wrong way of where a lot of people are going. So I think politically a shift happened about a year or two ago. Uh,
That's
but
made
also,
people unhappy, like
let's put
less happy.
people unhappy. I think people were happier because we got to do things, we got to travel again, but then there was a shift. And then of course, if you don't know where your job is, if you're not happy with your job and you're applying for jobs, but all 4 out of every 10 jobs is just a ghost job. So yes, we are a working economy, but the majority of these jobs that were added were jobs that just came back. So people just went to work for their old companies. They opened back up. I went back to work for the school district, as you know, Laurelyn.
Right.
I'm no longer working for the school district for a lot of different reasons. I just did not agree the direction they were heading. They were not giving me any kind of mental health support in the classroom. And yeah.
So, and I'm sorry for talking over you because you're frozen. So I don't know what we'll do there. See if we can
Right.
get you to jam back in and hopefully rejingle your internet connection there. But that's the thing. So overall, we are less happy as a society. There's all these different things from politics to access, financial pressures, inflation. There's a lot of things happening in the world. Offshore issues around foreign policy and challenges there that other countries are facing. So the world is less happy. I don't think anybody is going to disagree with you, on that. Maybe we're slightly happier than we were when we were locked up in the pandemic at the beginning of it. We didn't know what was going to happen. But even now I look at New York City, COVID is surging. So all that said, with everything going on, what we're excited about is you're going to help us on that path to spiritual happiness, despite all of the terrible stuff that's going on. Oh, and we just got a bunch of chats. Things just got connected. Everybody's in there. Hello to our guests. We've got a number of people in the chat. Hello, hello. Thank you for being here. Sandy Wendy, Stacey Ray. It always takes a few minutes to come in. And some of the other folks that are there, thank you for joining. No, the chat is not frozen. It's working, but Ray is frozen.
I'm
Ray,
frozen. Can you still hear me, Laurelyn?
I can hear you perfectly, but I think I'd like to see you moving and talking.
I know. There's nothing I can do. I tried fixing my Wi-Fi. Let me go back in and out.
Well, let me just sit you from the studio here because you got everything set up. Let me just
Right.
try to bump you into the waiting room and bring you back. Let's
Sounds
see.
a good idea.
Let's see if we can charge the energy here and get some happiness and good stuff. Let's see.
Right.
All right, Ray, are you moving?
Let's see here.
Oh no. This is a challenge. See, when you're live, right? What do? It's like, oh, I could.
I'm actually still in here.
You're in, but your face is frozen, and you're just
right. Because I'm still in, but why don't we just continue on with the conversation? They know what I look like.
Okay. Well, for those that are just joining now, Coach Ray here from Ray of Light Coaching and Business here, talking to us about spiritual happiness. He's frozen, but we can hear him. So we're going to keep going. All right. We've set the foundation. We understand that there's a lot of churn in the world and unhappiness and things. So what's the number one bit of advice that you give your clients and say, this is what you really need to think of and do differently so that you can build some happiness into your life?
Well, be honest with you, Laurelyn, when I have worked with clients, they're all searching for a greater purpose. Other than they're all searching for a greater purpose. They're all searching, is my job my only purpose? Is my relation my only purpose? I have family, but it's always been my family. So those are really the three things. That's what we're all doing, is searching for this greater purpose in life. Is there a God? Is there not a God? Is there, I want to go to my job, but yet I'm not happy with this job. I tried switching jobs, but I realized the grass is greener not on the other side, but where I water it. So the grass is greener where it's going to be where you water it.
I love that.
And you see, when I went back to school as a substitute teacher, because I watered my grass, I felt a lot better. But then I watered the grass too much, and I started drowning myself in this long-term position. I wasn't getting paid what I deserved. And yeah, I just decided it was time to move on. I decided it was time to just pursue my soul mission business even more. And I've been getting on shows and podcasts. These things take time. You have to get people into your world. But I do think happiness is a struggle because it comes from different areas. We have family happiness, we have career happiness. I think those two are very important. They coincide. Then we have the relationships that we develop over time. And do we have friends? Are friends supporting us in our missions, what we want to do? And like you, Laurelyn, you recruited me off of LinkedIn 3.5 years ago in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm like, oh, sure, I'll give it a shot. But it's all a risk. So I believe that we become much happier when we take risks and they actually come out for the positive at the end.
That's the way it goes. And we've got some more guests, Craig and others. Hello. Welcome to the show. Yes, Ray's video is frozen, but we can hear him. So we're just going to look at his picture there. At least you're not in a really bad pose. I mean, if we're talking about the quest for spiritual happiness, now maybe this isn't spiritual at all, but as this video is being logged on multiple social media and paired with your own, at least you don't have like one of these, faces or something ridiculous. So you're going to be.
At least my tongue's not out. At least I'm not eating something or whatever.
Right. It's the little things. Okay. So let's talk and get into some of the some of the details. Like without,
Sure.
of course, we would never expose a client or anything like that. We don't want to mess people up that way. But who do you think is in greater need of happiness in your services? Is it men? Is it women? Is it other genders? Who do you see coming to you that's like, oh my God, like help me. Like I need happiness. I need.
It's been kind of all of the above. I've enjoyed working. Well, I'll give you an example. I've enjoyed working with two business owners, my wife and my business partner, who I helped build her business over the years. And what I like about my wife and her is that they see the goal of having multiple ways to make money. Because what happens is we get a job, we get laid off, then we get on sort of unemployment, and then we have to find another job within a month. And it's actually very difficult to find work these days. My wife's been out of college for a year, and she just landed her first interview. So it's very difficult to find work in this country, and getting more and more difficult. Most of the jobs that came back were just jobs people already were living. So there's that. I have also worked with people in the job force that helping with them their purpose, their soul mission a lot more. What I've found that was interesting is that people that look for jobs have more of a fixed mindset, and the people that own businesses have more of a growth mindset.
Hmm.
And the fixed mindset is I have a job, I have a roof over my head, this is all I need. I have one source of income, it's providing the bills. Whereas the growth mindset is this one job is just not good enough. I need to have this, I need to have that, I need to have this, I need to have that, because I can't rely on one thing to pay the bills anymore. So part of what I do in my program, Happiness, Health, Wealth, and Law of Attraction, when I get to the very end, the wealth and law of attraction part is I help couples or individuals with an idea they've been having that they've been trying to struggling with this whole time. I don't know, I don't have any other support because I do believe every single one of us is coming with ideas before. And that's the goal is to make sure that you relive your purpose through your ideas and through your family.
And so you've mentioned family several times. So is it broader than that, where it's relationships in general? Because we know a lot of people have poor relationships with
Right.
either all of their family or some members of their family. So to be whole and on the path to spiritual happiness, do those relationships have to come from our family, or can they come from friendships, non-family members?
Well, I'm an only child, so the friends that I've developed in my life, I view as my siblings. So I do believe that when you actually make friends, they become part of your circle. And not every friend will be there as long as the other ones, but I always say you can have at least 4 to 5 true friends at every moment. Everybody else is just going to be a friend for a certain amount of time. They're going to be interested in you, but then they'll fall off. And I've cut off 3 friends in this past year and a half that were no longer serving me.
Mhm.
And I've added a friend in which I thought I lost for good. He was the best man at my wedding, but he came back into my circle because I took the courage to reach back out to him. And so I say friends become extended family, and it's very important to have not a whole lot of friends, but you want to have at least a few friends that you can count on for certain things. So I think in that relationship aspect, friendship is very important. Having a support system is very important. People we can go to because not all of us, uh, have the same amount of friends.
Right.
But having that go-to person when you're in crisis mode is very important.
And there you talked about an equation. So you lost 3 friends, or you chose, pardon me, you didn't lose them. You chose to have them exit stage left because the relationships were no longer healthy and they were weighing you down in your pursuit of happiness. And then you gained 1 friend back. So as a math-ish person, like I used to be long ago, back in the day when I actually had to do things like differential equations and all those things that, make my head explode now. But 3 minus 1 is 2. You're still in the whole 2. Does that matter? Or to your point about you the grass gets greener when you water it, that you're putting more effort and investment into those fewer relationships so that the quality is better and the return is better. Talk to us about that.
I will say the quality is much better. Ones that are supporting you, ones that want you to succeed. It's not that the other friends didn't want me to do that. We just became so different when we saw things.
Yeah.
I mean, I invited my place to an old friend of mine from college who was actually was out of a place. I'm like, okay, stay here for a week. My wife, we all had to sacrifice the room I'm in right now for her, and then we're getting happy because she's going to live right down the street from me. But then after actually allowing her in my house, which not very many people will do these days, to live here for a week while she looks for a place to live, she calls me 6 weeks later wishing me a happy birthday 6 weeks after my birthday. So I'm thinking, okay, that's strange. Then I see her walking around the street and I had her talking to a neighbor I haven't talked to in a while. And she goes, "Hey, Ray, how you don't remember me?" Well, if you don't come around, I might just forget who you are. And you don't answer my phone calls or texts. After you invite someone in your house, they don't even like reach out to him. Like that's kind of so I no longer really associate with her. It's because I thought she was getting kind of moochy.
Yeah.
Then the other two friends, one had a mental break with me on the phone, and college, and I did something in December. I told him I was going to go public with my situation. I didn't tell him how I was going to go public, but I did. And he got mad and he just started, just whatever. So he's no longer there, but he kept calling me. He was very codependent on me for all little tiny things that came up. And I can't handle this anymore. I have my own problems, my own mental health challenges I'm going through. I can't handle this anymore. And the other person I cut off seemed to just not be supportive of my journey of being a coach. So I just decided to part ways with him. But the other one that came back in my life, he's the one that encouraged me to be a coach.
Okay.
So
It,
quality over quantity, quality over quantity. I mean, if you have 4 or 5 friends you could talk to instead of 10, but they're supporting you, it's much better than having a bunch of friends everywhere else.
well, and let's talk about that too, because there are a lot of people in the world. I mean, right now, even the Surgeon General of the US has said that loneliness is an epidemic. There's
Yes.
so many people that are desperately lonely. 50% of us in the United States are desperately lonely to the point where it's causing physical harm
Mhm.
because mentally and emotionally, we're just so distraught. So if we look at that and think, okay, that's going on, do we really even need those 4 to 6 friends? Can we get by? And what do we do to invest more heavily in those few relationships we have to make sure that they stay intact so that we can help each other and be able to lean on each other during these challenging times? Talk to us about what we can do.
Well, I have friends that are lonely that for some reason the relationships they got into never worked out. And I will tell you, if you ever do find someone that's for you, do the work and do the inner work because you don't want to be a know-it-all. You don't want to be someone that's my way or the highway type person in your relationships. Otherwise, you will end up lonely in your life because relationships are a struggle. I remember when I got out of college, I was very lonely and I didn't find the person that I was going to be with in junior college, nor did I find it in community college or 4-year college. So here I am working, and my buddy Mo goes, "Well, do you want to try this dating app?" And I tried it, didn't work out for a while, and then towards the very end, when I was almost done with it, I found the love of my life.
Yeah.
But it wasn't without a series of 3 prayers. I don't know where people are on their spiritual development journey, but I said 3 prayers, finding the right one, and I just by magic I found the right one. So I think when we do find someone, it's important not to get overly excited and to be content and to understand that this is going to be a long-term process. Not that you shouldn't be excited, but in the past I'd get overly excited, then I'd get my feelings hurt, and I would. So I've learned to block the overexcitement. So there's a question that after it up by Stacy Ray I'd like to answer. that's okay.
Absolutely. Go ahead. I was going to cue her up anyway, that if you could push your attention to her
Yeah.
question.
So Stacy, it's a good question. I think it depends on where you feel lonely. Do you feel lonely and isolated at work, or do you feel lonely and isolated in your personal life and not having a spouse or partner? I think that's a very difficult question for a lot of people to answer because only you know how you feel, and only you know your own loneliness. Um, what exactly is your relationship experience? So I would have to know a little bit more about that in order to tell you what we can do to solve it.
Well, let's play it out. So you brought up two scenarios. So let's talk about the work scenario.
Yeah.
Somebody's at work and there's always that click, right? That click. They go to Starbucks, they do whatever, and they go, and you're left behind going, well, yeah, I guess I'll eat my lunch again out of my Tupperware container by myself at my desk because no one wants to be friends with me. So how do you help that person overcome their loneliness and their challenges in relationships so that they can find a way to be happier?
Gotcha. So I use a lot of spiritual development in my program to help with happiness. So 2 months in my program, I talk about what happiness is. And as we see, you can actually achieve it without actually having to be in a relationship because it's an individual achievement. So I would much rather be lonely and somewhat content and have friends than have no friends, being with a partner that's toxic, that's arguing with me, that's emotionally abusing me, that's physically abusing me. So that's the catch 22 right there. If you've been in emotionally abusive relationships, it's time to actually work and do the inner work. So that way, the next one that comes along, if there is, I also think that social media plays a big role of us not actually finding genuine people to be in a relationship
Mhm.
because I think oh, I met someone across the world and we're developing a connection. Well, how are you going to actually? Do you really want this to be a 90-day fiance fiasco? I don't think so. I think we want to develop a meaningful relationship with someone we can drive to their house. They're 10 miles away from our house. How it used to be. Um, a lot of people are now online. What I found out from talking to a few people in the neighborhood is that a lot of men in their 40s have um, a lot of men in their 40s have relationship challenges, and then what they do is they go and learn martial arts in their 40s, and they're all online dating. They're all single. I'm like, you're just now at age 40 putting the inner work and the time to discipline yourself to be successful in your relationships. I know when I met my wife, I was like, I gotta get better. I gotta get a therapist. I gotta get into personal development. I read books. Um, I joined a local Toastmasters organization to help me become a better communicator. It is work, and if we don't do the work in our relationships, um, we're not going to last very long, especially these days. I think people want things real fast. I think we're living in a world where we want things right away. And relationships is a long-term investment. It's a long-term thing. And I've noticed this by working in the classroom. Our attention spans are a lot less.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely. I mean, I'm
and
sure people are struggling even now just looking at the frozen picture of you and not seeing your Facebook.
right, right. Well, yeah, I'm glad you're still in here, and I apologize for that. There's nothing we can do about that. It's technology, and but I will say, not worried about the things that are out of your control are most important too.
So let's come back to a few things because we've had some chitter chatter here in the chat. So we had Craig who said that he did that whole 90-day fiance fiasco, met someone across the world. I guess it's all that love bombing, that excitement, that early honeymoon period, and then right, the bottom falls out. And then the question there that come back to a second question from Stacy was that if the person's lonely, what do you tell them? Do you tell them start doing the inner work? Are people receptive to hearing, hey, maybe you're not perfect, maybe you're part of the reason why the relationship is broken? Talk to us about your process there.
Well, it depends on what the client is wanting to achieve. If they want to attract a partner, then we can use spiritual development to help attract the partner, which through prayer and meditation, I think we can, but you got to put yourself out there. It's kind of like, you know, we all have an aura about us. Every single one of us has aura around us. And that could be that could be sensed by people that are new. We all can make a good first impression. So I would, if it just depends. Oh, Craig. So inner work is just means I just call it healing. What type of healing do you get into? That's inner work, living from within healing. So just want to answer his question. But I do think the more and more we spiritually evolve as human beings, the more we actually attract around us. So I become someone of spiritual focus in the community. I'm making friends with politicians. Once you become who you're supposed to become, the rest will fall into place.
And so, to that end, then, like kind of tying some of this all together, well, not kind of, but actually trying to tie and stitch it together.
Right,
So, if people are receptive to the idea that they have to put in some investment into themselves, and
right,
investment doesn't always mean financially, it could be just time or even the ability for self-reflection. Am
sure.
I reflecting and radiating the person that I want to see reflected back, right? If you're just negative and hateful and hurtful and all of this, and you don't do that work or realization, you're going to be attracting that, right? That's a law of attraction, like attracts.
Right.
And so, how do you get people unstuck when they're in that rut? They keep having the same dating pattern, they keep having the same relationship pattern or
That's where the law of karma and the law of one come into play. So we discussed about the law of attraction, about we attract what we put out there. But the law of one and the law of karma are a little two different laws. The law of karma means your actions speak louder than your words. Attraction is a little bit both. They're kind of similar, kind of not. Um, I feel in relationships, the law of karma really works. When my mom divorced my dad when I was 5 years old, she took everything from him, including his kid, including his pretty much everything they owned together. She left him with an empty house, absolutely nothing. Couches, television gone. She left him with just a spoon. Well, just recently, her last relationship failure, he took the things that were valuable and left her a pile of crap to find out and what to do with. And she told me, "I did this to your dad. So this is happening to me too." So, law of karma comes into play. How you treat others. I remember working in the classroom last time, asking the kids, "How many of you actually know the golden rule? Treat others how you want to be treated." And well, 95% of all the kids did not know what that golden rule was. So I'm like, what are they learning in their households? What are they learning at school? I have to get out.
And now they say that actually the golden rule is passe. Now, of course, like everything's up leveled, it's the platinum rule. And the platinum rule is treat others how you think they'd like to be treated. So
Right.
it's forcing empathy, right?
Yeah.
And emotional intelligence. It's consider somebody else's feelings. What do you think of that? How is that affecting the path to happiness? Is it, or have not enough?
Well, I think we have to have a combination of self care and knowing when it's time for you to put yourself there's a way to be there for others and a way for you to be for yourself at the same time. And I believe we just have to set different priorities. Sometimes someone wants our attention, someone wants our help. But how do we actually provide that help without taking care of ourselves and having this self care mindset? And I'd say over the last 3.5 years, it wasn't really until COVID that I actually decided to actually improve on my self care because I learned that twice. One, taking a few seminary classes, but two, also at Health Coach Institute. What does self care actually look like? Well, right now it's 95 degrees in my area. I'm staying in the house, staying hydrated. So that's today, but also different seasonal shifts. That's why I also discuss about health in my program because different seasonal shifts mean you eat foods during that time, and you'd be surprised how better you feel the way you eat. Golden rule is flawed. Do not treat people the way you want to be treated. Treat people the way they want to be treated. Yeah, I think there's a lot of flaws the older you get, because the more further you back, because of the language and the way it's actually transcripted over time. But we don't know how someone wants to be treated. I know for personally, if it's sympathy, I'm going to say treat others how I want to be treated. But if it's empathy, I'm going to treat them how they want to be treated. So I think there's a difference between sympathy and empathy. And I think what Craig said is to treat people the way they want to be treated. That's empathy. You're getting into their shoes. You're getting into their actually what they want to do. So absolutely, Craig. I think you're an awesome contributor to this.
Let's dig into this. I think this is a really interesting and provocative thought, and thank you, Craig, and all the others for participating here in the chat. That come here, Snooky. We're getting a visitor from my dog here. There we go. Hello. And so this, I think, is a really interesting idea. If you yourself like aren't really clear on what you're putting out there, and you're sending mixed messages, how do you get that clarity so that you can, one, with the law of attraction, start attracting what you want? Two, with the law of karma, that you're doing things that can help, go into the karma bank. So when you need to do your withdrawal, they're there. And you also talked about the law of one, but I don't think you dug into that. So how do we do this, Ray, if we don't know what we want?
Well, first, it's about setting an intention of what you actually do want. And we could do that by writing things in our journal. We can write things on a piece of paper. Just start off from scratch. Remember when you were 11 years old and the teacher wants you to do a free write? Write things. All these skills we learn in school, we tend to forget as adults, because we become adults, we have to start making money, paying the bills, and we just forget these skills. I would say start writing things down. What it is you want, you want. Now, the law of one stems from actually a lot further from the New Testament, but the most, I would say the best, I would say the best example of the law of one is when they asked Jesus, "When are we going to see God?" And he goes, "I am my God," or one. So that oneness means you believe there's no separation between you and whoever it is that you think is greater than you, and that this Holy Spirit, the Spirit that you have within you, is going to start attracting what you want out of life. So that's why I'm really in with the law of one with myself, because when I'm at oneness, I'm also in stillness. When I'm in stillness, I'm thinking about what I want to attract. And when I'm attracting things, I want to make sure I apply I apply the law of karma. Now, I'm not worried about karma as much as I used to, because after I went through my healing journey, I realized that I realized that in my healing journey, it's less about reversing your karma and more am I getting and healing and becoming a better person.
And I like some of the other bits that are coming here with these four agreements by Craig. Be integral, like don't take things personally, don't assume, and be your best. The one I want to poke at there, like that's just, it's just saying, yeah, poke the bear. Don't take things personal. Isn't everybody triggered by everything these days? So what do
It
we do?
seems like it.
Right?
It seems
So
like it.
how do we navigate those relationships where it seems, and I've noticed this too, it seems I'm walking on eggshells with so many relationships. You just don't want to say the right, the wrong thing at any wrong time. You can't even hint. We've lost the ability, it seems, to debate and to communicate. I'm entitled to my opinion. Maybe I want to vote this way. Okay, maybe you want to vote that way. Great. It's a democracy. You get to vote for whom you choose. But
Right.
friendships are being ripped apart.
Yep.
Marriages are being ripped apart
Yep.
if we're voting red or blue. So what the what? Like, why are we all so triggered? How do we stop triggering?
It's just a well. One, not enough people are leaving the matrix, and one, not enough people are leaving the matrix, and two, we're so consumed with so much media and so much news. It's very negative. It's very negative tone to it, and it's just we have to turn that off and understand when you go out in public, it's not as bad as what they're saying it is. Because the media wants you to actually do this. And I'll get to Craig in a minute because he actually came up with something really nice. But I think eliminating yourself from negativity, from condemnation, from all the news, you'll find a shift in your own behavior. Like, hey, look, I can go outside right now in my neighborhood, and if I just do this little international peace signal, I'm not going to get anyone that actually says anything. Because I do believe that people are mostly good for the most part. I think we're damaged. I think we're torn. I think we have become emotional numb to a lot of things in society. But in relationships, this is where we get triggered, especially dealing with friendships and our personal family relationships. So politically, yeah, I agree. I've seen people be torn up about politics these days. It's just how divided we've become. But we won't really discuss that because as a public figure, I'd like to be able to help someone on all sides of the aisle. I think relationships, so I'm kind of neutral. I call myself a libertarian, a green libertarian. I think there should be an open market for renewable energy. I'm an environmental studies major. I think renewable energy is the way of the future. But regardless, I do think religion. I want to touch on Craig. Religion, I think, has caused a lot of things, judgment and condemnation, and making people feel inferior to the religion itself. I've seen a lot of that in my own religion as a Christian, and that's why I've kind of ventured more into the Eastern part of a spiritual practice where I'm doing a lot of centerist, a lot of Tai Chi, a lot of meditation, because it spiritually develops you as a person.
And so let's see, like let's I guess get back to this. And then when you're in these relationships, right? And yes, Craig said some great points. And if you're feeling condemned and pointed to, I guess, and cornered, the natural tendency is to react. You might come out swinging, or you might react by not reacting, by shutting down in that sense. And how do you work with people to get out of their shell and realize the value and the power of relationships when they're really stuck?
It's a good question. My last client, I don't know if he was stuck or not, but he came to me. His wife stole $40,000, and he had all these plans, and I told him, "Well, what's going on?" I asked him what's going on in his life. He was honest with everything, but he was actually a very good client because he was coming up with his own breakthroughs. It was very easy for me, but we decided when there's something when you, with relationships, you have to desire the other person. You have to desire to want to be with that other person. If the desire is no longer there, you're going to shut off and you're going to just move on and back to square one again. So there has to be a desire, number one, to be in the relationship, and a common goal, common purpose. What is your common purpose of the relationship? But the trigger moments of your relationship, I always say learn when to pick your battles. Not every moment of the day is going to cause an argument. There's going to be some things with my wife I turn the other cheek because it's not very important, and most of the time, 90% of the time, it's not very important. She's just dealing with what she's dealing with. But the other 10% of the time, you stick up for yourself, you say what you want to say, but you come back an hour later, let it pass some time, and say, "I'm really sorry," and we can come with a compromise. I think here in America, we have a compromise problem because we always want to win the argument. We always want to win. It's like in politics, you want to vote for a winner. I have no problem voting for a loser if I think it's the right choice. So reality is we want to win. Americans are addicted to winning and we're addicted to being right. And sometimes we're wrong, sometimes we're going to lose, and sometimes we're going to fail. But that's how you learn.
Is this some of the reasoning why we're seeing this, I guess, this fracture that's happening? And then especially if even you look on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
People are choosing the red pill, right? You talked about get out of the matrix. So young men are saying, yes, I want to be part of the red pill society, where they emphasize traditional roles and that the man is winning and leading and making choices, and the traditional wife, trad wife, is home pregnant and cooking dinner. Have we reverted that far back, or is there still room to be able to?
No, I don't think we've rooted that far back because I think a lot of women are going into the workforce or finding their independence. I think that's actually adding an element to relations because men expect the woman to do all the housework while working a 40-hour job when reality is it should be both of your responsibilities to do housework. If you're home first, start cooking. If you don't know how to cook, learn how to cook because your wife might not always be there to cook for you. So it's a good skill to have. I'm actually a pretty good cook myself. So
What's
I
your best
learned.
dish, Ray? What's your date dish that you make for date night with your wife, with wifey?
Well, we could. She. Well, actually, I keep it simple. But if I really want to make something well, I'll make us some teriyaki chicken in the oven. Then I'll put some rice, and I'll have some veggies. Um, I have my family has an entire cookbook of recipes. My wife has ventured off and making Indian dishes, so we both cook. We both like to do it. Usually, when she gets home, I'm making it simple. I don't really go way too far. But if we're both home together, we make some fantastic dishes.
See, it's because you're working together, right? You said
Yeah.
like shared purpose, right? The shared goal is cooking together so that you both have a beautiful meal that you can enjoy.
We're also business partners as well. She's my brand manager for Ray of Life Marriage Spiritual Empowerment, but I'm also her sustainable coach for her business. Like, how do we actually get your business to run sustainable and make sure it's a continuous thing? And so that's another shared purpose I like to help couples with. Like, what is something you can both do besides your job that you can make money? And my wife has made a good fair share of money in her business, and she's opened it. It's not paying the bills, but it's a really amazing thing what she's been able to do. She's a go getter. She's aggressive. She's a leader. So, and I know this. I knew this about her. I'm like, you're gonna go on, and you're gonna be probably the head manager, probably not a CEO of some company, but you're gonna get up there because that's the kind of person she is, and that's the kind of person I married. So if I started mistreating her like other men do that listen to Andrew Tate or something like that, I probably wouldn't be successful in this marriage.
So, with that thought, as we're kind of wrapping things up here, Ray, so we've talked about a lot of things. We've talked about uh, different laws, from law of attraction to law of karma, law of one. We've talked about taking the time to do the inner work. We've talked about that level of self reflection so that you can go out there and know what you want, and that clarity in your vision and what you want and what you're looking for so that you can put it out there
Right.
the to the universe to attract and bring it back. We've talked about all these things. What else would you like to add to tell our audience here and say, okay, hey, you're on a path to spiritual happiness. Here's what I really think you should do.
Well, I try not to tell what I try not to tell others what to do because everybody has to find their own path in life. They have to can figure out the things. But I do believe that we're all, and I know that we're all doing the best we can for the situations and the cards that we've dealt with. And yeah, sometimes you do want to hire help and you want someone to help you clarify your things, or you hire a coach or you hire a therapist to kind of navigate through life a little bit. But what I will say is there's too many opinions, there's too much communication, there's just so much information out there that we just sometimes have to turn it off, center ourselves, and realize that every day you wake up, it's a blessing, it's a miracle because. If you think things are rough now, things could get really, really rough in the next couple of years um, in this country and around the world. I'm not too concerned for most of us, but you just never know. So the goal is to just make sure you wake up every day, get your morning routine, you brush your teeth, you eat your breakfast, you bring your kids off to school, you go to work. Be happy that you've achieved this amount of much as you have. Celebrate your wins. What have you won in life? Celebrate your wins. It's important to celebrate your wins. Don't always look at the negative stuff. I try to take a negative, turn it into a positive, and that's the law of attraction.
Yeah. And that is you. Since I've known you, despite all of the turmoil and turbulence that you've had in your life, you're like, nope, I'm not going to let it weigh me down. I'm going to turn all this negative stuff into, not only turn it into positive things, but helping other people learn how they can flip their lives over and get their relationship on better ground, so it is more positive, and they can have that ripple effect. So their relationships are more positive, then they're more positive when they go into the workplace, and vice
Right.
versa.
Yeah, no, definitely. Career counseling, I've done a little bit of that. I've done relationship coaching. What I realized is that they both go hand in hand. So I decided to become a spiritual happiness coach, help people with both matters.
Exactly. And so this I think is a great parting thought. And again, thank you to everybody that's been contributing to the chat from all the different social. That's why you need a pole, not a spectrum, as your foundation. I think that's really important. You've got to aim for one thing, because if you're looking at that continuum, a spectrum, where are you going to hit? Do you know if you've landed, if it's anywhere and somewhere? I don't know, might be here, might be there, but that pole, it's very clear.
That pole is very clear. It's going straight up. You're going straight up to the top.
That's right. And then it's got the little flag. I think of golfing. I always like it when the golf ball
We'll,
goes in there.
we'll put the Portuguese flag on it. How about that?
That sounds good. All right, everyone, again. So thank you to everyone in our audience who's been supportive. And thank you here to Coach Ray from Ray of Life, talking about spiritual happiness and on the path by building better relationships, doing some work to get there, taking time for self-care, looking at what others need and want, and then you being clear on what you want so that you put that out there.
Take care. Take care, Laurelyn.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.